That's right. It got a Rick Bark paint job. It ain't pretty. It ain't fucking fancy. And it ain't fucking done because I ran out of paint, but whatever. Fuck it, I don't care. I told Luke Strasser, we were chatting this morning. I told him I was going to paint the boom. Well, guess what, bud? I ran out of fucking paint. So, it's not getting fucking painted. And that was all I had around here. For that fucking, well, it's Alice Chalmers fucking colored paint, except for I had a little bit of Kubota orange paint from painting the wheels on the tractor. So, I did that part. Just to fuck with everybody. So now it's like a calico fucker. And I don't even have any fucking paint on the roof because I didn't have any fucking paint for that either. I got black, but I didn't want to put black on the roof. I'll have to get a can of white paint or something. Paint the fucking roof white to reflect the heat or something. I don't know. I burned up most of it trying to get the inside half coated, so that way that was fucking decent. Now granted, it's not fucking... It doesn't have 8 coats and it doesn't have clear coat on it, and I don't give a fuck. So, there's that. Then we put the fucking... We had to put a signature on it, so there you go. We did a little stencil, and then we did a little fucking detail in there, and that fucking mint. So, let's, we got some wiring, some lights to hook up, and, some gauges to put in. Alright, well, there's no better place to start than with our set of gauges here. We still have our wire hanging down, but I want to figure out where we're going to place these gauges. These are just generic fucking gauges you can pick up at the parts store. These one happened to have been an open package special, which I couldn't see anything missing on. So, for fucking 15 bucks, I figured, you know what? Fucking Excavator's getting gauges. I wanted to have mechanical gauges in there. Now, these are straight mechanical. You got, that's your wire to go to your fucking coolant temp. You have a hard line, plastic line that goes for your oil pressure, and then obviously your voltage is going to be wired. And then these are set up for backlighting as well, so we'll do that too because we're getting fucking fancy today. I'm thinking that's a good spot. Everything looks like it'll reach to the engine for hookups. Otherwise, I was going to go in that back corner, but right there, I'm kind of a gauge guy anyway. I like to be able to look at my gauges. That puts it right where it's nice and handy and easy to keep an eye on. So let's, we're going to mark this out, drill some holes, and we'll get that fucker mounted off. All right, so this might take a little fucking around because I got to try to work down both sides here. I had to go dig around to find hardware for this fucking thing because it comes with some self-tapping screws, but that's not going to work for this application. So we, or some standard screws. I didn't want to use self-tappers and run out here on this side where hoses could get hit by the tip. So I found some panhead screws. And those look like they'll work. But I had to rob them out of a fucking cabinet hardware kit that I had laying around. But that's alright. And we're going to try to utilize all 4 of them. And by all 4 of them, I mean all 4 mounting holes. But I know 2 will hold it. I'm just trying to... Come on, fucker. A little bit of a fight to get everything lined up. My fat fingers aren't as fucking... don't have the dexterity that they used to when I'm working with things like that. I got pretty large hands, and that gets to be a struggle sometimes for me. We're gonna try to get some needle nose pliers and see if we can utilize those to get the two middle ones in there. So what I'm gonna try to do is I'm using these the electrician pliers, and we're gonna see if we can't utilize those to this in here. And now for some of you guys that are wrench, fuck. Some of you guys that do some wrenching on your own, I don't know where the fuck that went, down there. Grab the other one first. Do some wrenching on your own. It's you're familiar with the struggles, those of you that don't. And I like to pay someone to do it. You're probably smarter than I am. I don't pay anybody to do anything for me unless it fucking requires anesthesia. I can do a lot of shit without anesthesia, I can tell you. Been on there a couple of times, but so there we go. We got that one. We'll get the other one in there and get it all tightened up. This is goofy cabinet hardware. The nuts that I found for it are fucking 9mm. Figure that shit out. I'm gonna climb up here from this way. It might work better. I don't know if there's a good combination for doing this kind of shit, but it always seems like this kind of stuff is pain in the ass. It might be easier if I took the gauges out of the pod, but then again, they have their own special fucking functions and shit when you're trying to get them back in there and whatnot, so. It seemed like it was difficult enough to get them to turn 90 degrees. And I'm trying to make sure these things are good and snug because I don't want this fucker rattling loose. I didn't have any lock washers that small. I had ones that were close, but they were going to want to open up. Come on. There we go. Alright, well, our gauges are mounted. Next step is going to be running the line for the temp gauge and the line for the oil pressure. Wires are relative. We don't have to worry about those too much. These are the most critical. So we're going to get those ran. We're going to figure out our routing and I'll bring you back. Well, if you can see where that light's coming from, comes one of our lines through here, I think. I don't know if it'll fit. Maybe it doesn't fit. Oh, perhaps. Oh no, there we go. Come on, you fucker. There we go. Okay, let's see if we can that fed around. A little routing. It will reach. It's going to be right at its max length, but that's okay. Now we gotta get the current temp sensor out. We'll go ahead and pull the radiator cap off. Just take any pressure off that's there. Then we're going to lose a little bit. That's all right. So we got our Teflon tape. If you guys haven't used Teflon tape before, I always make sure you're wrapping it in the direction of the threads. This is a 3/8 by 13 fitting. Couple wraps on there, make sure it's good and tight. We'll go put that in. Here we go. We got that in. And that's your element. That set returns back to the gauge. So we want to get that started in there, and then we can kind of, once we get that, we're going to go behind these wires. Once we get that tightened up, we can start figuring out where our final routing is going to go. Try to get this in there. There we go. So before I go and get too, oh, there we go. Before we get too overzealous with trying to route this thing a little bit more, we're gonna go ahead and get our, oh, watch yourself there. Before we route that too much more, we need to hook up our oil line to this oil sender, and then we can kind of run those together. So let's get that one put in. Well, there you go. Shows what I know, right? So this line goes right into the back of that compression fitting, and that'll get snugged down. Sometimes on these, you gotta run them a little bit and let the air come out so that line fills with oil and you have an accurate reading. Because if you're compressing air, you don't have an accurate reading. This particular sender happens to be 1 inch. The socket that fits on there. We got that. We'll go find the adapter that's the same thread pitch as that. We'll get that threaded in. So that is 1/8 by 28. That is 1/8 by 27. So I have it in 1/8 by 28 die, and we're going to see if we can cut some threads on it. I'm not super confident in that, but we're going to fucking try. If it doesn't work, well, fuck it, we'll just order the fitting, but I think it will because it's a tapered thread. If I go up further on the threads, it should cut pretty nicely. Being that it's brass, it cuts pretty easy anyway. You know, as you work back and forth and all that other shit, so that way you keep making those threads nice and not just chipping out a bunch of material. So I know Squatch 253 in particular is pretty fucking good at just burying those bastards through there. Screeching and whining and crying and all the way through. Because taps are fucking sacrificial. So, see what we get here. We want to run it in a couple of times. And we'll see if we got a clean set of threads. If they look all fuckered up, then we're not going to use it. Sometimes if you're trying to adjust your, oh fuck. Look at them pretty little bitches. Oh, it's got that Teflon tape on there that I put on there, but so if I get that off. Fucking flies. That cleaned her up pretty nice, I think. Basically, we're trying to change it from that to that, and sometimes it pretty much takes all the threads off. That looks pretty fucking mint to me, so let's go see if it'll work now. Now, if you're one of the do-it-yourselfers that wants to try to do this shit, you better be committed, good, bad, or otherwise, instead of trying to take it to a shop and make it somebody else's problem when it goes sideways for you. If you don't know what you're doing, don't fucking do it to begin with, because I get enough of that shit on a regular basis from people trying to fucking do shit themselves and then creating more work for me. So don't do that shit. I don't know if you can see. Running our line. Because the dipstick's right here, I want to keep the line off to that side if I can. And we have enough slack in it to do that, so we're going to kind of route it behind a few things here. And then down and around. So there's that one. I'd snug up this fitting. Again, remember, we have the one on the gauge pod loose yet. Kind of give that a little bit of a tug. Make sure you can't just pop it out of there. And now we're not done routing these yet, so just calm the fuck down about it, but we're close. There hasn't been a lot of beer drank in this project, so quick video recap for you if you're just coming in, because we're doing these things on fucking premieres now. So if you're just getting here, we got, well, we painted this fucker earlier. I didn't make any video while I was painting because I didn't want to get fucking paint on the camera, and that would fucking suck. So I just went outside and fucking shit canned a bunch of paint onto it. Does it look good? Not really. Who gives a fuck? We put our gauge pod in here, and we got our line routed for the coolant temp. We got our line routed for the oil pressure, and now I need to get some power supply for our lights and for our voltmeter. So we got the console popped up. What I want to do is, this is a main cutoff right here. So I want to figure out which side is constant power, which side is switchable power. And then we're going to hook to that side. We'll take our feed from that. We got to put in a fusible link. And we got to wire in a few switches for the lights. So let's get to it. But first, beer. Also a reminder that July 30th, 2022 is next year's Borkfest. Mark it on your fucking calendars and be there. Show up. I don't care what part of the country you're coming from. There's no fucking excuses. We've had people come last year. This year we had people from fucking far west and the far east. So fucking come on over. Make her a weekend. Come on the 28th, 29th. It's going to be fine. We're going to have a fucking good time either way. See you then. Alright, well, we're putting together our fusible link. Or fuse holder, whatever you want to call it. That's a 20 amp fuse in there. I gotta go ahead and crimp an end on this one. Now we are fused at the battery already. So we go ahead and put that on there. And we're gonna need a butt splice on this end. I know I should solder and shrink tube, solder and shrink tube. We're not fucking doing that today. Just telling you. Most of these switches and all that are going to be exposed to the weather for the time being anyway, because there's no cab on that, no windows in that. Once the cab is on there, it won't be so bad, or the glass is in there, it won't be so bad. But these are just fine for under dash and inside applications. Outside, you'd probably want something with shrink tube on it, but we're gonna let her fucking buck anyway. So this spade terminal needs to go on here and get tightened up. This lead is going to tie into the lights up there, and then we'll get things set up and tie into those lights as well. So okay, so I'm gonna strip all these. All these fucking lights pop out, so we'll just take all the fucking lights out. That one. That one. That'll make it a little bit easier to do this. I'm gonna strip all these back. All the white ones. We could probably do the black ones at the same time, I suppose, huh? Don't want to fucking discriminate here. There we go. Do them all at the same time. I hate when they dip that end in fucking solder like that, because it does that shit. Piss me off. I should have cut the fucker off to begin with. Oh, hopefully we got enough to... Yeah, there should be enough there to make it work. Yeah. They solder that. It sticks to the casing. Sometimes that fucking solder flows back in anyway. There we go. So I need all three tied together along with that one. So we're gonna strip that one back as well. And we're gonna grab a butt splice here. We're gonna have to go with a blue one because not so much the size of the wires. The wires are pretty fine, but by the time you get that shoulder, that little shoulder down around the casing on the wires, you're gonna need something pretty big to cover it all. So I'm gonna take these three, twist them together like so. You can see the diameter's not real big on that. Take this brown one, kind of twist them together, feed it all into that blue one, and I want to get up in there so all your wires are up into that shoulder a little bit before we go ahead and crimp that thing off. Give it a tug, make sure nothing comes out. Should be good on that side. Now we got to tie into our ground as well. So we have our three grounds. We're gonna go ahead and strip this green one back a little bit. And this is just old trailer wiring that I'm utilizing it because it runs in, they run in pairs like that. So that'd be the brake and the running light and right rear turn signal. And get all three of them, or all four of them together, hopefully. I don't know if that's the best. Somebody seems like they're a little short here. Have a little bit more in my a little longer tail to work with there, so get those ones. We'll get that one. Getting everybody to the same length and all that takes a little patience. There, we'll go grab a connector for that. Give it a pull. Make sure you're okay there. So now all our lights are tied together. We have a ground feed coming in, a ground feed coming out. So this side are going to go up to the lights. We'll explain that here in a second. Put these back in. They just pop in. They're a friction fit. I think. Hope. Come on. I'll go around here so I can see what the hell I'm doing. There. Now we can utilize this to go up and supply the light. We can provide power and ground to that, or ground and power, vice versa, and get things hooked up, try it out. Don't mind the fucking mess in here. You guys know that guy?
Look over here.
Jackie at Gerald Farms. I still keep getting guys asking me where the race car is. That guy's got it. He's over there racing the shit out of it. So
Yeah, there you go.
I got Steve Mack's snowmobile. He's on there too. You guys go over and check out Jackie's channel. Trying to jump in and chime in here and there when we can. But we gotta keep working on this fucking excavator because the goddamn cows were just out again. Well, two of them were. So basically we're in test fire mode at this point. We got our heating line, our coolant temp line here. Our hot line supplies to the backlighting and the LED light bar up there. And then we got our oil pressure line. We purged most of the air out of that while we had it running. Just idling for a second, but we want to test fire everything and look for leaks and all that shit. So we'll do that before we put all the cosmetic shit back together. Oh, we got to turn our main line on. And we haven't bolted anything down yet. All right. See if our got oil pressure. Oh, we got a leak. That ain't good. Shut that shit off for a second. All right. That ain't no good at all. Shit. 7/16, hopefully 7/16. Hopefully this fits on the back of that fucking thing. I don't know. See if I can get you in here and give you a view what the hell I'm doing. Probably not. The hell's my light? Hang on, I was just looking for my light. Try to give you a better view here. Seems like a bigger than that. Maybe it is. Maybe it's smaller than that. Shit, I don't know. Oh, sure shit, it's smaller than that. Alright, hang on. So I need two of them there, 3/8. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing in here, but we're gonna try to tighten this up a little bit more. I don't know where the hell it was leaking from either. I guess we're gonna find out here in a second. Leaks right out of the back of that fitting. Alright. I don't know if we don't have the line in far enough or what, but damn wires in my way. That don't help anything. That flickering fucking LED doesn't help either. I can't see where there's shit. I should have taken this thing off and done it that way, but whatever. They don't leave enough of that boss fitting sticking out of the back of the gauge to get a hold of with a good wrench. So you can't hardly get a hold of the damn thing. That might be problematic here. I'll try to get this thing tightened up. I don't know if we can. I get that fucking wire up out of my way. The hell puts that much wire on shit anyway? That's actually the size of that son of a bitch. It's bigger than that. I know it is. Ain't that? Yes, that's it. Try this son of a bitch. I need a fucking headstand trying to work on this goddamn thing. There. That one will do it. And if I can put the light where you can still see what the fuck I'm doing. Sort of. The fuck? So the problem with that one is it doesn't hold the damn thing, and it just holding the case on. It's not actually holding the gauge. And that little fucking brass we're gonna have a hell of a time right now. We gave it a come up. Ooga-doogas. Well, the light's dead, and now we need to get the fucking bezel tight again so that the gauge isn't flopping around. Alright, we'll read fire here and see if it leaks now. Does not appear to be leaking. Running 75 pounds on that one. Let's I don't have this one hooked up yet. I ain't too worried about that at the moment. But I want to make sure that that fitting's not leaking right there. This one, we gotta put a little coolant in it yet. And then we'll be able to verify if that works or not once we get it outside. But real quick while we're running, why don't we have power? I'm not sure why we don't have power there. Shit. Alright. Well, I done fucked up somewhere. I gotta figure that shit out. Maybe I don't have a good ground. I don't know. So remember that wire that I was fighting with down here that I was bitching about so much? That was a ground wire that I didn't hook up. I didn't put it behind that fucking bolt. So now, look at that shit. You hear that, motherfucker? Oh yeah, what is that? How many lumen is that, motherfucker? So it's got 170 degree field of view. And 6,011 effective lumens. 7,920 raw. Oh yeah, real good, real good. So I need to do some finishing touches, but this is my switch bezel that I came up with. I had this piece of scrap laying around that kind of protects the back of the gauge bezel a little bit, so that's not getting banged around. And like I said, I don't have that hooked up. I'm not too fucking terribly worried about my voltage at this point. Maybe when I get a little time, we'll back a wire in from here to go to that gauge as well, or when we have lights on or whatever. But I do need to get some convoluted tubing. And we're going to dress that up, run everything together, as well as up this A-pillar. That's as they call it in the automotive industry. And then we got to get this dressed up back here and across the engine compartment. So I'll bring you back when we get things kind of fucking squared away and show you what we got.